pleasant place for a lounge. Whether the hard condition of their kingly state, very naturally demanding some luxurious requital, prevailed upon the monarchs of Juam to house themselves so delightfully as they did, whether buried alive in their glen, they sought to centre therein a secret world of enjoyment. However it may have been, throughout the archipelago this saying was a proverb: "You are lodged like the king in Willamilla." Hereby was expressed the utmost sumptuousness of a palace. A well-warranted saying, for of all the bright places where my soul loves to linger, the haunts of Donjalolo are most delicious. In the eastern quarter of the glen was the house of the morning. This fanciful palace was raised upon a natural mound, many rods square, almost completely filling up a deep recess between deep green and projecting cliffs, overlooking many abodes distributed in the shadows of the groves beyond. Now, if indeed it be that from the time employed in its construction, any just notion may be formed of the stateliness of an edifice, it must needs be determined that this retreat of Donjalolo could not be otherwise than imposing. Full 500 moons was the palace in completing, for by some architectural arborist its quadrangular foundations had been laid in seed coconuts, requiring that period to sprout up into pillars. In front, these were horizontally connected by elaborately carved beams of a scarlet hue, inserted into the vital wood, which, is swelling out and overlapping, firmly secured them. The beams supported the rafters, inclining from the rear, while over the aromatic grasses covering the roof waved the tufted tops of the palms, green capitals to their dusky shafts. Through and through this vibrating verdure, bright birds flitted and sang. The scented and variegated thatch seemed a hanging garden, and between it and the palm tops was leaf-hung an arbor in the air. Without these columns stood a second and third colonnade, forming the most beautiful bowers, advancing through which you fancy that the palace beyond must be chambered in a fountain or frozen in a crystal. 3 sparkling rivulets, flowing from the heights, were led across its summit through great trunks half buried in the thatch, and emptying into a sculptured channel running along the eaves, poured over in one wide sheet, plaited and transparent. Received into a basin beneath, they were thence conducted down the vale. The sides of the palace were hedged by deomi bushes bearing a flower from its perfume called Lenora, or sweet breath, and with these odorous hedges were heavy piles of mats richly dyed and embroidered. Here lounging of a glowing noon, the plaited cascade playing, the verdure waving, and the birds melodious, it was hard to say whether you were an inmate of a garden in the glen or a grotto in the sea. But enough for the nonce of the house of the morning. Cross we the hollow to the house of the afternoon. End of chapter 76.